Welcome to Welcome to Wildlife Religion with Coach Renz, and today we're going to talk about a subject matter that I'm going to be. You may be a little bit confused at first because initially it's going to sound like I'm in support of the Christian idea of tithing, but at the same time I'm not in support of it. We're going to see like the contradiction of it as as far as the different teachings and the different teachers based on this idea of tithing. This conversation came up because it was something that some Christian friends of mine who are, well, Christian associates, because friend is a big word, but guys that I get along with. We have great conversations here in the lounge. I own a cigar lounge. That's why you see me smoking cigars all the time. But they asked me the question about tithe. And the question originally started out was, is tithes money? Can tithes be money? Can tithes be time? And I went through a whole diatribe with them. And I wanted to share that information with you guys as well, because you are most deserving of it. So the first question, let's go ahead and establish the answer. The tithe is money. And I know that many people in the conscious community will say that tithes is not money. Tithes is food, it's grain, it's animals, it's things of that nature. If you are holding it only to the culture of the day that they wrote in this book, then yes, you will be able to stick to that. But let's be realistic. When you extrapolate things over time in history, tithe is whatever is used to acquire wealth, whatever is used to maintain a standard of living within a community. And they were an agrarian, for the most part, agrarian societies back then. So, of course, bringing tithes to the priest would be in the form of animals and pottery and grain and food, whatever it is. But it's whatever it is that allows you to live your lifestyle. That is what you're paying. So tithe is money. It's just the idea of what money is has changed over time. So to answer that question initially, tithe is money. Now, where does tithes kind of initially come from? All right. And that's where we want to start talking about today. So one of the first times you see anything about tithes is when you're dealing with the story of Cain and Abel. In the Cain and Abel story, and this is the first time in the Bible, so let me back up a little bit before I go there. One of the things that you should understand is that tithing is something that has always been a part of any religion throughout time and history. In every culture, they have always given money or products to take care of the priesthood. Taking care of the priesthood was a very important thing to people of every culture, because they believed in a deity and they wanted to make sure that their priests spent all their time working on the behalf of the people to ensure that the people receive bounty from whatever deity it is. So whether you're looking at people in Asia, people in the Americas, people in Africa, giving what you earn, or the government taking care of the priesthood, was always been a thing. So it's not a new thing that just started with the Hebrews. This is something that every culture has done. And whether we are talking about how, especially in Babylon, during Babylonian captivity, the Hebrews would have really understood this. Ishtar, or Inanna, most people know her as Ishtar. She was the queen of heaven, the goddess of fertility, the goddess of war, the goddess of love. She was heavily giving tithe to by the Babylonian people during this Babylonian captivity of the Israelite folks. So they would have given tithes to her tremendously. The Kemetic people gave tithes to Ashar, Aset, especially Aset. Isis, the mother of the universe, was heavily tithed to. In the Greek, Athena was one of the primary goddesses that tithes were always paid, set asides were always given to the priest of Athena. So this wasn't something that was only the Jewish people did. In Islam, they have a very complicated system of tithing. In Islam, it's like 2.5% beyond whatever your personal needs are, and that could be different. And then it's like, there's a 10% for if you have a combination of you invested money and time, there's a 5% if it's only just an investment of time. And then there's 20% if it's just the money if you made off an investment of just money, something that you didn't labor for. So the amount of labor that's inputted into what you gain has a different percentage based in Islam. Sikhism has a straight up 10%. Sikhism is an offshoot of Hinduism. So we can see that is something that's always been taught through every religion. Even in this, I don't like using the term woke no more because they have bastardized it and used it for every damn thing, and it irritates me to no end. We can't have a term, can we? But anyway, I'm not going to go there right now. I already did that on other videos. But even in the conscious community, those who are trying to spend all their time, personally like myself, but I don't want y'all, I'm not looking for donations. I mean, if y'all give a donation with a super thanks, I'm grateful to it. Mainly watch the whole video and share the videos. That's the main thing I'm looking for. Or if you're on Facebook and you give stars, great, I appreciate it. If you guys subscribe or join or become, do the member subscriptions, that's great, I appreciate it. But my main thing, like I just said on the live that I just finished, is share the content. I rather meta, I'm looking for meta and for YouTube to pay the bills, not the people. But it is not uncommon. If you guys were saying that, hey, Coach Renz, let's buy a building, let's establish a structure, a place for people like us to be able to meet and come to and all of that. Yeah, y'all gonna have to give us some money because there's no way. Because that means I can't do this. I can't run my cigar lounge, right? Yeah, no, we're not doing that. So I'm not mad about tithes. Tithes are needed for people to take care of the priest, whoever the priesthood is, for whatever they do. It's the abuse of it, and it's the force of it. And let's look at some of that and how they utilize people's emotion to force them, to guilt them, to make them feel fearful if they don't. So some of the places that they go to is, one of the first ones is Cain and Abel. When they look at the Cain and Abel story, one of the things they emphasize first is that Cain brought his best. Abel brought his best because Cain was in charge of the fields. Abel was in charge of the animal. Now we know which job is more laborious. We know working out in them fields takes a hell of a lot more energy than just sheep herding, right? We know it. So Abel gave his best. Cain gave whatever. They didn't say he gave his worst, but they didn't specify his best. So it's assumed that it wasn't the best. But if you actually read it, it just talks about how just God preferred Abel's gift, because as we see throughout this book, this guy prefers the barbecue. He likes blood and meat. He's not a vegetarian. This God is not a vegetarian. Even though he started man out as vegetarian, he's not a vegetarian. He wanted all the meat for himself. That's why Adam and Eve were only eating the vegetables. He wanted it for himself. All the way up until after Noah. After Noah is when he gave man permission to eat meat. So he wanted all the meat for himself, because when Noah sacrificed it, I smell that barbecue. So we know that's the real deal. But it starts with Cain and Abel and them giving to this guy some meat and potatoes, but he ain't like potatoes. Then we get to Noah giving an offering, but that was only an offering afterwards, after they had finished the ark, building the ark. We really don't see it again until we deal with Abraham. And Abraham went into battle in Sodom to save Lot, right? No, was it Sodom or was it Gomorrah? It was one of them. It was Sodom or Gomorrah. So it was one of them. He saved Lot from a battle. He met this priest Melchizedek from Salem. Much is not known about Melchizedek. They try to say that Melchizedek was Jesus, but no, that's some BS. And real quick here, if you want to watch the rest of this video and you're on Facebook or TikTok, you're gonna have to come over to my YouTube channel, which is Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz on YouTube, because it's about to switch over, and this video is about to end on those channels. But on YouTube, it's going to continue. So in Leviticus, we're talking about Melchizedek. So he gave him a 10%, but he only gave him a 10% of what he had just got. not 10% of what he already had, of what he just got. So it wasn't a continuous thing either. And we saw that in this one-time occurrence, Jacob promised God 10% of everything he earned. But this is later on, right? Jacob didn't establish this and continue to do this. This was something that was added later. And then, of course, we get the Moses in the Levitical laws. And, as we're going through our book, as we, on Tuesday is our lives. So please continue to join us for our lives on Tuesday. What's wrong with the Bible? We're in Exodus right now. If you're seeing this today on the day of this recording, if you're seeing this 2-3 months from now, then they ain't telling where we at. But he established the 10% in Leviticus 27:30. That 10% is to go from the land, is to go to the priest, to take care of the priest, right? So we see that 10% is going there. Then the one that they use to rip people off the most is Malachi. Will a man rob from God? But yea, he has robbed me, because you ain't bring your tithe to the storehouse. So you are robbing God. So we know that is used tremendously in that respect. So those are some of the guilt ways that they try to get you to give your 10%. But then along comes this little fella named Jesus. Jesus actually changes the game. He does it differently. Jesus first starts talking about how you're not, that you should be storing up in heaven and not storing up on earth. He teaches that you are a hypocrite because you're trying to follow the law. And because the Sadducees and Pharisees were consuming and getting rich off of the poor of the people, and they weren't focused on justice, mercy, faithfulness, and without neglecting. He said you can take the tithes, but you're neglecting the people. You're storing up for yourself all these tremendous amounts of money, and you're neglecting the people. You're making your life great, but you're neglecting the people. That was his type of message. In Matthew, he talks about you should give from the heart. It's not a hardcore 10%. You're too focused on this 10%. But the lady who gave 2 bits had given more than all the people who blew the trumpets and did all these other things. So got interrupted there by this joker, right? See him right there going to the bathroom? But anyway, so as we continue, he was saying that it was purely from the heart, and you're supposed to be giving it from your heart. Whatever your gifts are, whatever your donations are, that following is not so much about following the law, right? Which is a change from the old. Even though he said he came not to take anything away from the old, he did take away the hardcore 10%. So there in itself is a contradiction between the Old Testament and the New Testament, of what Jesus was teaching and what the Old Testament Bible was teaching. So when you hear pastors talking about, giving from the heart, you should. That's what he's talking about. But this is where most pastors actually, their mindset is coming from. Because after Jesus, 40, 50 years later, here comes this little dude named Paul. Paul changes it up again, making it more like the Old Testament. But Paul goes a lot further. So with Paulinian Christianity, especially in 2 Corinthians 8 and 9, Paul talks about that you should give generously, and you should give more than you are able to give, right? And he emphasizes that if you give a little, you're only going to get back a little. Paul very much, you can tell that Paul is written in favor of the Romans, that he is not written in favor of the people. You can see the Roman influence in Paul's writings. So that's where you start. So Paul is going back to more of the 10%, more of the, you need to give that uncommon seed, as they like to preach in your churches. You need to give more than you're able, because the more you give, the more you're going to get back. That if you give scarcely, then you get back scarcely. So when you compare how Jesus talked about giving, he said, give from your heart. Paul is saying, nah, give from your heart, but you need to give more. You need to give more than everybody else, because if you want something back, you got to give something. You got to give more. If you want more, give more. Right. And Paul really is teaching Old Testament 10% and more than 10%. So to kind of sort of wrap this up, all religions have always taught to take care of the priesthood, because the priesthood's main focus is to take care of the people's relationship between the deity, and the people, to make sure that the people are following what the deity desires. And that's every religion. Every religion has that. Every religion going into the future will always have that. And this will always be something that you can live your lifestyle with. So whatever it is, if it's an agrarian society, then it's going to be cows and sheep and all that. But it's also going to be your money. Now, giving tithes of your time, yes, you can give tithes of your time, because the Bible does tell you, and all religions tell you to give your time. But your time is not equal to or in substitution of your money. So, some of the guys who was in here who were Christian kind of got a little like in their feelings when I told them that, no, giving your time, according to your book, giving your time does not equal a substitution for giving your money. It is still for you to give your money. But you're supposed to be giving this money to the priesthood. And according to the Old Testament, that priesthood only comes out of the line of Aaron, the Leviticus line. So, the Levites. So, but of course, we know that all the Gentiles and all this other kind of stuff has been added to it for the New Testament. But of course, your Jesus said that you're supposed to not be trying to take more than what you need to live, that you're not supposed to be living this lavish lifestyle. Now, I did give a little bit of an understanding. If you have a pastor who's running a mega church, that is a person who's running a huge business. For all the business, it should be equal to what the level of the church. You can't expect a poor little broke ass church in Pee Wee Town, Alabama, to be able to pay for a pastor's house and all this sorts of thing. They're not going to be able to afford it. The people there don't make enough money to be able to do that. Some of those churches only have like 15 to 30 people in it. Those 30 people cannot keep a lifestyle for that pastor. Now, back in the day, a lot of churches owned they built a house on church property, and that house was for the pastor to live. So there's that part. Some of these organizations like the Methodists and whatnot, they group together as group finances to take care of all the pastors and whatnot, most of the pastors. So, but if you're running a mega church, you should get paid more than somebody who's running a church that only got like 20 people in it. So I'm not mad when I see the mega pastors who live a nice lifestyle, a six-figure income lifestyle, when they say that, why haven't y'all gotten me this, some watch that dude was wanting to watch, some watch that start with an M. I can't even think of the name of it because I'm not into watches like that. But when they start saying, I need a watch, I need a car, I need a jet engine, I'm a jet plane, I need another plane, I need another house, and then got interrupted again. But when they're saying that they want that you should buy them houses and cars and all this sort of thing, that's when they are going outside. That's when they are like what Jesus was talking about, as far as, you don't have to neglect the tithe, but you're going way the hell outside of it. That's what they were talking about. That's what he was talking about now. But of course, most pastors follow the Paulinian style of Christianity, which says you need to they promise the people that they're going to get milk and honey if they give a whole bunch of their money. Milk and honey, get some money. Uncommon seed, get a whole bunch. And they'll find that one or two person who actually did something and they got a whole bunch back. But most of the people go in there and they give a bunch of money and they suffer. They suffer. When most of those people could have taken that 10%, paid off their debt, increased their credit score, and then been able to buy them a house. But most of these people, especially in the Black community, are still living in apartments. They're still living in rental homes. They still are living paycheck to paycheck, but they are giving that 10%, and they've been giving that damn 10% from as long as they can remember, and they've been living broke. They've been suffering instead of them utilizing that money. I do like how in Islam, it's more about giving money based on after you live your life, after you have enough money to live your life, not giving money ahead of you being able to live your life. That is a major difference. That is why when you go to some of these Arab countries, especially the ones who have industrialized, they're not living poor because they give money after. And if you want to give extra money to charities, you should. And that's great. So just want to get that message out there. I'll shoot my other video later on the day because there's evidently less people here. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is not negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. Subscribe, share this video.